Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 169. As always, I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it is fantastic to be with you again. It's roughly 100 degrees in the Midwest right now. The sun is high in the sky, and we are doing our absolute best to avoid it at all costs. Nothing against the sun and all it's given us, but frankly, I could use a break. Our guest this week is none other than Tony Campos, the bass player and iconic musician who is probably best known for his work with the one and only Static X, who are currently on their reunion tour of sorts, celebrating both the life and times of Wayne Static, their fallen vocalist, as well as the 20th anniversary of their breakout album, Wisconsin Death Trip. Now, I had the opportunity to see Static X in concert earlier this week, and let me tell you, the show does not disappoint. The band has been selling out rooms holding anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people basically every night of this run, and it's done so well that they recently announced plans to take the tour to Europe later this year. But let me tell you, it's something very unique in the world of rock and roll to see a group recover like this and pay tribute to the person that they lost at the same time. The Wisconsin Death Trip tour is being fronted by a new vocalist who the band refers to only as Zero and whose identity is fully unknown. How they pull this off is by having Zero wear what is best described as a Wayne Static mask while on stage. At first glance, it looks exactly like Static from a distance, but when you get closer, you see that there's a lot of artistic liberties taken with the face design. There's a giant X in his forehead. It's both a little creepy, but also pretty freaking cool at the same time. And the band rips through Wisconsin Death Trip as well as all the group's greatest hits with these 5 video screens behind them, and fans are just singing along, going crazy. You know, the group hasn't missed a beat. And it's kind of impressive because even though Static X has technically been around for about 25 years at this point, these 3 members of the band, the original members of the band alongside Static, haven't played together in about a decade. Coming out to do this tour to pay tribute to their friend as well as celebrate this record that legitimately changed all of their lives is something that is really inspiring to see take place. And in this episode of the show, Tony tells me not only how this came together, but the struggles with bringing together a tour of this magnitude and making sure that you do give back to the people who were there to remember Wayne, and you honor his life while also celebrating, everything the band has done and could still do in the future. Static X does have an album in the works, and we talk about where that's at and how it's coming together. It will feature a lot of Wayne's work, the stuff that he was working on before he died, as well as some superstar guests. And we get a little bit into why it's not out yet, when we can expect it, and how the band is trying to approach the future of their career, because there's a lot of road ahead for Static X, at least if they choose to have it. I mean, I was at this show, the people were there, the fans were going crazy, and it was clear that they want more Static X in their lives. But real quick, before we get to the show, I do want to point out a few quick things. This episode of Inside Music, and every episode of Inside Music, is brought to you by Holix, the industry standard for promotional distribution. When artists like Chance the Rapper, Metallica, Blink-182, and thousands of others need to share their music with industry tastemakers, they turn to Holix. And you can do the same starting today with a 1-month free trial by visiting Holix.com. That's HAULIX.com. Go there, sign up, and your first month of service is free. Cancel at any time if you don't like it, but I really think you're going to love it. So again, visit Holix.com, HAULIX.com. I also want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've been putting a lot of work into developing this channel to giving you educational content as well as insight into the latest things happening in the music business. So please head over to YouTube and search Music Biz. That's Music B-I-Z, and subscribe to our channel today. Now that's all the things that I have to share with you. Make sure you check out Static X on tour this summer and this fall if you live in Europe. And otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with the one and only Tony Campos. Has it been like this like the whole tour for you guys so far?
Well, it's been hot,
Yeah.
Being summer and everything. Nothing too bad.
Well, that's good. It seems like the crowds have been really good for you guys.
Oh, the crowds have been awesome. Yeah. The turnouts have been really, really good, man. I'm really just overwhelmed by the response. It's been awesome.
Would you say it's what you thought would happen when you announced the tour?
Yeah, no, like it's expanded and grown into so much more than we thought it would. It could be, and like we're going overseas now. It's crazy.
I saw. I took a peek online at the videos people have posted from the sets on YouTube and whatnot, and I guess I'm always surprised. You guys seem to have a ton of production for this tour.
Yeah.
Did you always picture it being as big as it is, or did it just kind of develop? Like, how did you develop what the stage?
We want to, we wanted to do it as big and as high production as we could, just because we felt like that's the right way to do it. Just to remember Wayne in the way that we wanted to, we had to do it this big.
It's as big as it needed to be.
Yeah.
Is it? I've seen that there's some like music video clips and stuff that play during certain tracks. Is it hard to prepare a live show and know that it kind of you want to trying to sync up with what's happening in the video screens, or is it a little easier than you might expect it to be?
Yeah, I mean it's being intimately familiar with the songs helps.
I can imagine.
So yeah, I mean it's just once deciding what kind of vibe you want to go for a particular song, then everything else just kind of falls into place, knowing the song and where all the beats and all the hits are.
Yeah. I've seen a few legendary acts this year, mostly in like the country market, that use the music videos as what their background visuals are. And the thing I've been seeing as the trick is like they'll cut themselves out of the video, like it'll just kind of cut back to live performance when it gets to the words, so they don't have to worry about syncing it up. And I was like, that's clever. It's like a nice way to repurpose. Like I saw Alan Jackson a couple weeks ago at the Van Andel here for a different outlet, and it was the same thing where it's just like his iconic videos, but there's no Alan Jackson in them. They're just like people at a party, or people on boats.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, is it strange to see? I guess you said it wasn't really that surprising to see how people turned out, but I was curious when I first saw the tour announced. I was like, will people be, I guess, accepting of kind of how you're trying to pay tribute to Wayne? And it doesn't seem like there's been any detractors since the tour's really kicked off.
Well, yeah, there was plenty.
Initially, I'm sure people are like, what the hell?
But I think now that people have seen and heard what we're doing, even people I talked to at the meet and greets after the show, they admit they were skeptical, but after seeing it, they're convinced that this was the right way to do it.
And can you tell me a little bit about the Wayne mask? The thing kind of creeps me out.
Well,
like in a good way, where I kind of want one, but I don't.
Well, I mean, it started with how do we represent Wayne on stage in a cool way, without it, at the same time keeping it organic, keeping the energy of four guys on stage as opposed to doing a hologram. Like holograms are cool, but there's no like live energy.
Something is missing.
Yeah. And so we were just like, how do we do that, and also at the same time keep the focus on Wayne as opposed to here's Static X with their new singer. So we thought of ways to do that, and at first we had like this robot mask, and
which I guess
it was cool. It was cool, but logistically it just didn't make any sense because you're blind in that thing. So we'd have to walk him out and just stand him in front of the microphone, So like I just logistically that wasn't going to work. So we were trying to think of something else, and so we did a lot of merch designs with the images of skulls with Wayne's hair and beard, and we thought, why not try doing something like that? And so that's kind of where the mask came from. And once we saw it in practice and in real life, we were like, I think that's going to be a really cool way to do it.
How do you find a mask maker? Do you just have a mask guy?
Well, no, we know several people, and actually the person who did the mask, this mask, the Zero mask, is a girl named Lainey. She's done masks for John 5, Slipknot, some other high-profile guys. So
what a weird niche to like. I mean, I'm just the metal mask lady. That's what I do. I'm the mask maven. Oh, that's really. I'm curious. So, when did you guys start kicking around the idea of this tour in the first place? I know the band's been kind of working on stuff for a while. There's the album that's in the works, but specifically, like, the idea of this tour, was it the 20th anniversary coming up, or?
Yeah. Just, you know, as we were working on stuff and the anniversary was looming, it just made sense to do it all. Do it all in one fell swoop, you know. So yeah.
Now, there was originally the idea that I read was that Project Regeneration was going to come out earlier in 2019. It's not here yet. Yeah. Was that more of a conscious decision with kind of what you wanted to do with this tour to push the album back farther, or more
necessarily,
logistical?
Not necessarily because of the tour. The two main things that have delayed the record is one good, one bad. The good being all the extra material that we found with Wayne's vocals on them.
Okay.
So yeah, we're working to incorporate that stuff onto the record. So we're at the point now, like when we first started this, we only had one song with Wayne's vocals on it. Now we're at the point where the majority of the songs on this record will feature Wayne's vocals. So that's a good problem to have. But it's caused some delays. And then the bad problem being just trying to find the right record deal, because the state of the record business these days is crap.
Yeah.
They want everything. They want your merch. They want your touring. They want everything, and it's just ridiculous. So we're trying to find the right deal to get this out, and we're like at the point where we're like looking at self-releasing, options more geared towards that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the deal. But the main thing, I want to make sure that the material's done right. So we're gonna try and get it done as quick as we can. But I want to make sure it's done right.
So how far along were some of these songs in terms of they had Wayne's vocals?
The earlier stuff that we had, some of that stuff we already sent over to our producer Ulrich Wild for mixing.
Okay.
So there's some stuff actually mixed already, but it's just this later stuff that we still gotta work on and develop.
Is it strange to like be trying to finish an idea that doesn't have everyone present to work on it? You know.
Yeah, well, it was funny with the early stuff that we had. It was these 5 demos that Wayne had left to a producer friend of ours, who then gave them to me. And what was cool about that stuff was it was just basically like a riff or two and a drum program, and that's exactly how Wayne would bring in ideas into the rehearsal room back in the early days. That's how all the songs on Wisconsin Death Trip got developed. Yeah. So in a strange way, it was kind of like working with Wayne again. So that was really cool. But then this later stuff that we found, it was mainly just vocal tracks, like whatever music was underneath it was lost. A lot of the tapes that we found were damaged, and so we had to go in and like take snippets at a time and like put stuff together. So yeah, that's been a time-consuming process.
I can only imagine.
But that was a different process, but it was cool too to kind of reverse engineer a song, you know?
Yeah, I can't even imagine like trying to pull it together and be like, all right, what? I talk to a lot of musicians who tell me like one of their greatest fears is like something terrible happens to them, and then someone finds their like their voice app on their phone, and they just have like dozens of demos, or especially vocalists, because they're like just talking to themselves, or like da 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 da. That's gonna be something someday.
Yeah.
You gotta like figure out what it is,
yeah.
And you're actually building something with like that in a way.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm gonna make art with these things that were hopefully fleshed out in the way.
Yeah.
So what happens to Static X when this tour wraps up, then you have the album come out. Do you plan to reveal who Zero is? Is that a permanent thing?
I don't know. We haven't really thought too far ahead. We're just trying to, you know, we're just enjoying the moment. I mean, Ken and Koichi and I haven't played together in over a decade.
Yeah.
Let alone being in the same room together. So yeah, we're just, you know, enjoying each other's company again, reconnecting. Yeah, and then we're just trying to make sure we do this right. And so we're putting all our effort into making sure this is done right. And once this is all said and done, if it's something the fans want, I'm certainly not opposed to it.
Yeah.
I still a couple other things I'd like to do. My buddies Dino and Emilio they should be at home writing music for the next Assassino record. So hopefully by the time I get done with this at the end of the year, I can go into the studio and scream some obscenities in Spanish, and we'll have a finished Assassino record. So yeah, that's on the burner. And I'd love to work with Ministry again. I'd love to work with the Cavallera Brothers again. So yeah, I mean, there's other things I still want to do, but if it's something fans want, yeah, I'll definitely keep it in mind, for sure.
Well, that's something I was thinking about today, because you originally joined this band in 1994. Here we are 25 years later talking about this band still.
I know, right?
Is that was probably nothing anywhere close to being on your mind in 1994. Like, I'm going to be talking about this almost 30 years later.
Yeah, no, this is the last thing I thought I'd be doing for a living. Yeah.
And then there's that audience. Like, there are kids outside right now. I walk past them out front, and I was like, damn, what time is it in the afternoon?
Yeah.
It has to be humbling, right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's mind-blowing, for sure.
I want to know what advice you would give to, I guess, other groups that find themselves kind of in this predicament that Static X has, where it's like there is this demand for the band, there's this passion for the songs, and you have to find a way to bring it back, or I guess you could have ignored it altogether and tried to move forward with your lives. So, like, what would you tell other people who find themselves in a similar musical predicament?
Go with your heart, man. If it feels right, and you know, if it's genuinely something you want to do, then yeah, I mean, give it a shot, man.
What would you say was the hardest part of figuring this whole thing out? Just how to pay tribute? It seems like you guys spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you know, figuring out how to do that the right way, while at the same time, you know, recapturing that vibe that made it all so special. So yeah, those few hurdles. Yeah.
I can't imagine like the nervousness of I mean, there's always been fans of Static X and Wisconsin Death Trip in particular, but to like announce a tour like this, and then that wait between like Tuesday and when pre-sales start on Thursday or whatever, just that 48 hours of being like, well, we're about to find out if this works.
Yeah. I mean,
and now here you said and they had a low ticket warning like earlier this week for tonight's show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like half the shows on this tour have been sold out, and the turnouts has been incredible, man. So,
I really appreciate your body of work outside of this, man, too. Like, you just listed off a bunch of products you've been a part of, Cavallera being amazing, but I think that we're in this weird, if we just transition real quick briefly, I feel like the rise of heavier Spanish music is coming in like a big way. You see it, like I see Latin trap and stuff is taking off in like pop music and Billboard, and the idea of like heavier Spanish music breaking into the metal scene on like a nationwide level, I feel like it's imminent.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been there. I mean, there's been bands like El Nino and Ancla and Puya, you know, that have been doing it, you know, since you know, the early 2000s. I'm sure there were bands before that. You know, there are plenty of Latin American bands that have been playing metal for longer than that. So yeah, I mean, it's just it's cool that it's getting a little more exposure.
Yeah. I sometimes forget about how big El Nino was when they first burst onto the scene. Mm-hmm. It was a big wave, and then you're like, this is the new thing, and then it didn't take off in like inspiring thousands of other bands that reached that level. But I feel like maybe with the way things are moving right now, like this is the perfect time for like the next wave of El Nino, no pun intended. Mm-hmm. And you're gonna be. I just feel like you're at the forefront of it all right now, man.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm just. I'm just hopeful we can finally get another record out. 10, 12 years later, however long it's been since the last record. So.
That's how so many metal bands I speak to work. They're like, I don't know about all that. We're just trying to get the record done. What happens after that, we'll figure it out. But you do a very good job of leading the moment.